When you get to the end of the Apostle Paul's epic letter to the Romans, right around chapter 15, it feels like something shifts. All this towering, incredible theology suddenly seems to land on, well, travel logistics.
Paul mentions he's planning to go to Spain. He's got to make a quick stop in Jerusalem. There's this financial gift he needs to deliver. Oh, and he needs prayer. On the surface, it sounds purely logistical. But what if this isn't just a travel itinerary? What if we're actually looking at theology in motion?
Because let's be honest, with the Apostle Paul, a travel plan is never just a travel plan. Beneath all these simple logistics, we find this profound, living, breathing demonstration of the gospel itself. This isn't just about where Paul is going, it's about where the gospel is going and what it does as it moves through the world.
Okay, so to really see this theology in motion, we first have to get our feet on the ground. We need to understand the real-world context of Paul's mission. This isn't some abstract idea. This is history happening right before our eyes.
Paul lets us in on his strategic mind here. He's basically completed a massive missionary circuit, having evangelized Asia Minor and Greece, and his driving passion was always to go where the name of Christ hadn't been preached yet. That's why he has his eyes set on Spain, the far western edge of the known world. But before he can head west, he says he must first go east, to Jerusalem. You see, every single move is strategic for the advance of the gospel.
But let's zoom in on that trip to Jerusalem. It's so much more than a detour. In fact, it's the very heart of the theology that Paul has been so passionately writing about for 15 straight chapters. In verse 25, Paul says he's going to Jerusalem in service to the saints. The Greek word he uses here is diakonia. Now, our English words aid or charity don't even come close to capturing this. Diakonia means sacred service, a ministry. This financial gift, collected from Gentile churches for the struggling Jewish church in Jerusalem, it's nothing less than an act of worship, its economics being transformed into pure devotion. So why was this gift so incredibly important? Paul says the Gentiles owe it to them. Now hold on. This isn't a debt of guilt, not at all. It's a debt of overwhelming gratitude. Just look at this beautiful exchange. The Gentiles received these immeasurable spiritual blessings that flowed through Israel, the Messiah himself, the covenants, the scriptures, and in response, they give a material gift. It's this beautiful, tangible, fitting expression of thanks for a salvation that has deep Jewish roots. And just feel the intensity here. Paul doesn't just ask for a little prayer. No, in Romans 15:30, he asks them to strive together with him. That word means to agonize, to contend with all your might, like an athlete in the arena. This is spiritual warfare language. Paul knows this journey isn't some simple delivery route. It's contested territory, and it's full of spiritual and physical danger. And this brings us to a really powerful tension that we see all throughout Scripture. This beautiful and sometimes difficult interplay between our own bold plans and God's sovereign purpose.
I mean, this slide just says it all, doesn't it? Look at the top. That's Paul's plan. A straightforward missionary journey. Jerusalem, pop over to Rome, then on to Spain. Simple enough. But then look at God's reality. From Jerusalem, he goes straight into an arrest, then a dangerous sea voyage, a shipwreck, until he finally gets to Rome, not as a free missionary, but as a prisoner in chains.
And yet, you know what? This was not a surprise that shattered Paul's faith. He planned boldly, yes, but he submitted absolutely. Every single one of his plans was held loosely, conditioned by that little phrase from verse 32, by God's will. He knew who was ultimately in charge of the itinerary. And this is such a crucial takeaway for us. God answered Paul's prayer to get to Rome, but not in any way Paul could have expected. You see, God's sovereignty doesn't guarantee a smooth path, but it does guarantee that his path, no matter how wild and unexpected, is always, always purposeful. He will get his people where they need to be to accomplish his will. So with all this movement, all these plans and dangers and divine purposes, we have to ask the most important question of all.
I mean, where is Christ in the middle of travel plans and financial collections and shipwrecks?
The answer is simple, and it's overwhelming. He is everywhere. Christ is at the absolute center of every single detail in this text.
When we really look closely, we start to see Jesus in at least three incredible ways. We see him as the true servant. We see him as the great unifier. And we see him as the sovereign Lord over all the nations.
Just consider this comparison for a moment. Paul goes to Jerusalem carrying a gift, facing hostility in an act of sacrificial love.
His journey is this beautiful, stunning echo of Christ's own journey to Jerusalem. Jesus went to that very same city, not just carrying a gift, but carrying himself as the gift. He faced the ultimate hostility in the ultimate act of sacrificial love. You see, mission always imitates the Messiah.
And that financial gift, it only exists because of the cross. Think about it. Without Christ's death, Jews and Gentiles would still be divided by that wall of hostility. But Christ made peace. He broke down the wall. And this offering, this flow of money from Gentile hands into Jewish hands, is the tangible economic evidence of atonement. It's real-world proof that reconciliation is real.
So, what does this all mean for us? This passage is really the culmination of everything Paul has been building, and it turns this powerful corner from simply believing something to actively doing something.
Think about the flow of this whole letter. In chapters 1 through 11, Paul explains the glorious, mind-blowing truth of our salvation. Then, in chapters 12 to 15, he explains how that salvation transforms us into a new, unified people. And now, this final section explains the necessary result, participation. The gospel must go somewhere. It has to move.
And that leaves us with a really piercing question, doesn't it? Are we content to just be spectators of redemption, admiring the beauty of the gospel from a safe distance? Or are we called to be active participants in its movement, just like Paul was?
Because in the end, Paul's dangerous, unpredictable, God-ordained journey shows us a final, unshakable truth. The good news of Jesus Christ is not a static doctrine to be merely believed. It is a dynamic, living power that must be carried into the entire world, whatever the cost, until the Lord of the nations receives the glorious inheritance he is due.